are now going to jump into a conversation, a panel discussion around entrepreneurial equality. So I'm going to bring on our guests, our panel discussion guests. We have a number of individuals here, not only on the investment side, VC side, but also the entrepreneurial side. So I see here we've got Marshall. I'm going to bring up Marshall, and I'm going to bring up all four of you, and feel free to turn on your camera there as our guests here. And let's see, there's Tessa, and I'm going to remove my, there we are. How are you all doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm going to bring on Kojenwa as well. And Kojenwa is going to join us, but we are now going to have a panel discussion and really talk about entrepreneurial equality. But first, what I would like to do is have everyone go around, and rather than we butcher some of these names, I'm going to have you all introduce yourself, give a little bit of intro on, really, your firm or what you are representing, and then we'll have a discussion around entrepreneurship. So first and foremost, I'll have Tessa introduce yourself real quick for us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tessa. It's great to be here tonight. I am based in Chicago, and I am the founder and general partner of Capitalized VC. So Capitalized VC is a $10 million fund based here in Chicago that invests in Black and Latinx founders at the pre-seed stage. And so we're looking at enterprise-related technology in fintech, advertising tech, and future of work. So a lot of what we look at is in kind of the passion economy, the creator economy, and anything in like the gig economy as well. But then in addition to that enterprise focus, we also invest in direct-to-consumer brands using revenue-based financing. And we're doing that because we're ultimately looking to diversify the limited partnership pool of our fund as well. And in order to do that, we're looking to increase liquidity of the fund to create access for Black and Latinx investors as our LPs. And so we believe that by lowering this barrier to entry, being liquidity in VC, that we'll be able to create that diversity kind of at all levels of the value chain within this industry. And so the revenue-based financing is the way that we're able to bring in that liquidity. So I will pause there and pass it off to Marshall.
Hello. Hey, thanks, Tessa. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me. Great to see everyone. My name is Marshall Smith. I'm calling in from Los Angeles, California, and general partner and co-founder of Steamwork Ventures. We are a venture investing in connected solutions for impact in health, wealth, and the environment. And we see connected solutions really as an opportunity for entrepreneurs and founders to monetize in three different places. One, a device, two, a service or a software, and three, a data component around that. And we are investing in early stage companies, seed stage following into a Series A, and $50 million fund. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Feel free to pass it on.
Sure. Niousha.
Thank you, Marshall. So I'm Niousha Roshani, the co-founder of Global Black Youth. Global Black Youth connects and invests in global Black talents, which also includes entrepreneurs and innovators on a global scale. We really go as we cover the entire globe, as from Australia to Africa to Europe to the Middle East, Asia, Latin America, and North America. We really try to connect young Black entrepreneurs to each other, but also to opportunities. And we really try to invest and kind of disrupt the grim stats of low investment into Black founders globally. So we're tired of hearing the 1% and the 2% and the 6%. So we try to amplify and increase the pipeline that goes of investment that goes into Black founders globally. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, these words, when we put on their entrepreneurial equality and just a little bit of background, these words just kind of came together as Founders Live has continued to grow throughout the world. And of course, the understanding around whether it's, gender, race, orientation, language, where you live, where you've grown up. I mean, we're global, right? So, our view on entrepreneurial equality is on a global stage. But these words to us really just came together to say, look, it doesn't matter what you identify as or all those things that I just said. You deserve equal opportunity for success, at least the opportunity to go forth and do what you want to do. So I would like to go around the group and really and we want to keep these answers a little bit brief, just so we can touch on a lot of different topics here. But let's start with Marshall. What does that mean to you, real quick, in terms of really those two words?
Yeah. So entrepreneurial equality is really, fairness to me. It's leveling the playing field. We're obviously all born into different circumstances, different experiences, whether that's financial, educational, and so forth. And how do we have everyone have the same opportunity, or at least catch people up? And like I said, kind of level that playing field. So that's really where it is. It's so.
Oh, very good. Niousha, feel free to share your vision. I remember when we connected, we had such a great conversation, and almost want to dive right off of that. But what do these two words mean to you?
Thank you, Nick. So I was just in a recent panel this morning on digital transformation, the future of work. What does it look like post-pandemic? And it's really important to ask, what does the future of work or digital transformation mean, and for whom it is, right? So it's not on an equal basis. And that's something we have to realize. And when we think about, there's a tendency of always romanticizing these terms, but we have to also understand and recognize that there's an underinvestment that goes into certain founders, and in particular, young people of African descent globally, not just in the US, even though you have the investment of VC funding that was increased 4 times in 2021, is still below 2%. Right, so which is ridiculous. And we think about an investment that goes into Black founders on the African continent is still below 6%. So these are the numbers that don't make sense. And beyond just looking at efforts of diversity and inclusion, we see it as a missed opportunity for our social and economic growth on a global scale.
Yeah, Tessa, how do you fully identify with these words?
Yeah, so I think, before I became a venture investor, I actually was a founder, and I started a fintech company. I was looking to raise a pre-seed round after a small angel round. And for us, it was extremely difficult. And this was about 5 years ago now. And so I actually was kind of forced to close down the company. And ultimately, I think for me, I think that, diverse founders at the earliest stage have a very difficult time finding capital, and ultimately their ideas don't even get off the ground. And so for me, I think it's important to invest in companies at an extremely early stage, because it's very well documented that diverse families just don't have as much wealth as others. And so the friends and family round is pretty non-existent. And so for funds or other types of capital to come in and be able to support founders at this stage, I think is really the most important, which is why at Capitalized VC, we're looking to invest in companies at the pre-seed stage.
Very good. Kojenwa, feel free to share, even from, obviously as an entrepreneur and a business owner, but you're also sitting as a city leader. So what do these words mean to you?
I heard someone say today or some time ago, and it really struck me. And the sentence was, when you're used to privilege, equity feels like oppression. And then I started to think about the words privilege. What does that mean, right? And what does it mean for someone who has had everything to suddenly think about others gaining access, right? And so I feel like we are in a period of shift. I think after what we experienced in Minneapolis with George Floyd, that we've really started as a country to open up our eyes and to acknowledge at the very least that it has not been an equal playing field. And so as an entrepreneur, as someone who works in marketing, PR, and branding, my work is to ready entrepreneurs to ensure that they have the tools in their toolbox to move forward and to be successful. And a lot of that has to do with financial literacy, you know, something as simple as learning the concept of putting away even $2 from 20 into an account somewhere that you can access later, right? So there's still so much work left to be done, but the time is now. And I'm really excited to see the developments, the growth. I'm looking forward to seeing more entrepreneurs of color, women, many of whom have had to drop out of the workplace altogether, to come back and make a difference. And I just know that there's a huge market potential for not only women, but for people of color to, step into the place and show up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When something that I've been saying more frequently, it's just been amazing. I don't know how this kind of hit, but, look, Founders Live is, and these numbers and words might come a little harsh, but Founders Live is not for the 1%, and for the people in Silicon Valley that are already accessing millions of dollars, have maybe raised it, or they're already a unicorn. Founders Live is for the 99%. And when you kind of look at that, and then you say, well, okay, what is the 99% or even the next 5%, and how are we ranking those? Remove that thought. But when you think about globally, the next 5% of people is 400 million people globally that, in my opinion, are as good as you or me in terms of they have ability, they have maybe know-how and have ideas around problems. They just haven't been provided the opportunities yet. We're talking about 400 million. And so what you all are saying, like, there are people out there that just have been traditionally overlooked. And that's what this is all about. And so that fires us up, because we're talking about a lot of people on all these continents that are just ready. They're just ready to break out. So so excited about that. What I want to do is kind of shift to, keeping this thought process. What quick advice would you each have for early entrepreneurs that might feel that they are in that situation, whether they feel overlooked, they don't feel like they're a part of Silicon Valley, they might be in a different country. So let's just kind of go around that ring again. Let's go with Marshall. What are your thoughts with, and maybe quick advice to an early stage entrepreneur just getting going? They might be getting their pitch deck ready and wanting to start raising that kind of seed round. What are your thoughts? Oh, you're on mute.
Well, I know we'll touch base on investment and capital and so forth, but one thing that I look for, certainly, I think it's critical for entrepreneurs to build diversity and inclusion in their business, really from the onset, into the business plan, into the business planning. Think about how diverse your board is, your employees, and so forth. I think that there's obviously statistics and information out there that typically a diverse company has better growth and better trajectory and so forth. So I would really start kind of looking into that as early as possible. And that's something we look for in Steamwork, certainly in our due diligence process. Are the founders, are they willing to and open to diversity? Again, on the board side, on the employee side, and so forth.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. Let's go. We'll just go around. From what I can see is Tessa, feel free to share those quick advice to early stage entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I would say, I know this is, I believe this is a tech audience here, but I would just say, before you even start thinking about raising venture capital, like, think about what you want out of the future of your company, because venture capital is just one of the different types of funding that are available. And, we offer another one, revenue-based financing. There are a lot of other kind of alternative models that might fit your company better. But I think, for those who do want to raise venture capital, is just kind of educate yourself. I would say, you know, one book that I really recommend is Deal Terms by Brad Feld. And he kind of runs down every aspect of venture funding and fundraising, so that at least you're coming to the table like knowledgeable and understanding what you're getting yourself into. Because I think a lot of founders that I talk to, you know, come to a pre-seed conversation and they're like, you know, I'm raising a priced round. And that's just, I don't know, not necessarily the greatest way to start off the conversation, because it kind of suggests that you're not like very well versed in what you're getting into. And so just kind of having that baseline understanding of, you know, what you're talking about in that first meeting is definitely something that I would say is important to kind of research beforehand.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely good points to really think about as you're going about the process. Next, and that'd be Niousha.
Oh, thank you. So I would just say, I mean, because I'm a natural connector, but I also see the value in connecting to other entrepreneurs who look like us, right? And who face the same challenges. I think it's really important to be able to do that. So really joining not just a national network, but you can strengthen your work nationally by connecting globally as well. For example, last year, 50% of businesses that open up are owned by you know, Black and Latino, again, non-mutually exclusive founders. So these, for example, all of these founders need to be able to tap into and hire, for example, other talent, and they can tap into a pool of Black talent or Latino talent, both nationally and internationally. And then when they're able to connect to each other, it's not just having access to opportunities, but inspiration, building a community is really important. And you never know how they're going to and whom they're going to be introduced to, and who can, you know, further and help them to scale up their businesses.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kojenwa, your thoughts, and, you know, especially the early stage founders that we get in touch with. What are your quick thoughts here?
Oh, there's so many, but certainly, what was it? Quitters never win and winners never quit, right? So entrepreneurship is a rocky journey. Wow. It's really not for people who are just not prepared for all the bits and bobs that come along with it. Stay the course, take care of your mental health, take care of yourself, and stay in the game, because you will succeed.
You know, thank you. And I'm going to echo those thoughts that health, emotional and mental health and wellness are so important. And, you know, I've learned this year that, you know, honestly, I hit a wall and I hit burnout, and, you know, maybe a lot of us did based on a lot of the last year and a half, almost 2 years. And I've really had to dig deep on, you know, my personal health, whether it's physical or emotional, you know, well-being, just to maintain, you know, being sane. And so as a founder, it's so important. We offer some resources and products and things of that nature. Feel free to kind of check those out, everyone. But you're absolutely right. What I would like to do is shift a little bit. So I'm going to pop a question on here and I'm going to read it. We have a question from Kumar, who's actually one of our city leaders there in San Diego. So I will remove this question so we can see everyone in a second. But, you know, what advice do you have reaching, you know, minority and female entrepreneurs during recruitment efforts, especially when you're you are really trying to, you know, focus on these diversity and inclusion aspects? Does anyone, and, you know, I would like to, given time, just whoever wants to jump in, feel free to jump in here and suggest some ideas around how one would go about recruiting and basically finding that talent.
So for you, Kumar, I would say think about your demographic and your psychographic, right? Demographic, where do those people that you hope to find live? Where does your avatar live? What newspapers are they reading? Where do they go for advice? And find them where they live, right? Specifically, Facebook groups has been a resource for curating individuals who live in certain brackets, right? Why are they the #1 company reaping in so much money? It's because they have their finger on the pulse for who we are, right? So finding where your market lives is number one in my book, and then going there.
I think there are also programs like On Deck has a program where they try to, match entrepreneurs together around ideas. And so it might be helpful to connect with programs like that. And I think there are a few in addition to On Deck. And then I would also just say like university programs, I think. Oh, and then there's also a program around called GET Cities, led by Melinda Gates and Pivotal Ventures. And I think they're also really working to find diverse talent, and not only like founders who are already starting companies, but also to like bring together diverse entrepreneurs around ideas. So I would say those are a few programs that I'm aware of that I think might fit for what you're looking for.
Good advice. Let's see, last question, because unfortunately we don't have a ton of time just because we've got so much more to experience here. In a short, brief thought, paint kind of the dream picture for you all, especially thinking about, diversity, inclusion, entrepreneurial equality. So, just kind of get creative a little bit, but what do you want the world to look like in, maybe 10, well, hopefully soon, but let's go out, 10 years. So we'll start at the top again, Marshall.
Sure. What thing that makes me very optimistic right now is that we're having these conversations, right? This is not something that 10, 20, 30 years ago, even longer, was brought up on panel discussions. There wasn't DE&I groups and networking groups or executives and companies taking on the initiative. So the fact that we're having the conversation now, it just makes me so optimistic. And there are so many changes that we need to make in the future. It's really hard to, really hit on one. It's not just deploying capital to underserved communities. There's educational things that we need to improve on. There's financial literacy, like Kojenwa mentioned. There's so many things, even political wise, that we need to work on. So even just having the conversation, I think is an improvement. And, 10 years from now, I hope there's vast improvements in all of these things, but it's such a big problem that, it's not going to be solved in 10 years, but at least we're having that conversation now.
Thank you. Yeah, Tessa.
My vision is that founders can raise capital from people who also look like them. And so I think that means, a lot more diverse GPs, a lot more diverse LPs. And I think that happens through building wealth for communities overall. So I think, obviously investing in diverse founders is a huge focus of what I'm trying to do, but I'm also trying to build broader wealth and, just within founders and just within those teams, because ultimately I think that's kind of how all of this scales to the maximum potential. When, down the line, a Black founder can raise capital from a Black GP who has Black LPs in their fund as well. So that's my ultimate vision for where we're going.
Love it. Niousha.
Thank you, Nick. So I was just thinking about everything I was dreaming of in 10 years, but I see one of the most important things is I see decentralizing, right? So I see decentralizing from Silicon Valley and thinking about Kigali being the next point, of Baltimore being like the city of innovation, Havana. I'm thinking globally. For me, I cannot think of just one place, but but most importantly, connecting Black entrepreneurs around the world to each other. I think it's really important for people to understand that, for example, the next place to invest in are these decentralized, the non-usual suspect places around the world, and not for them to question and have the narrative that Black founders cannot come up with valuable and lucrative industries. And this is what I want to see. So very similar to Tessa, it's a dream, but we have to be able to shift that narrative, and it's happening already around the world.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Kojenwa, final thoughts.
Oh, that's amazing. No, I'm already starting to experience this. You know, when Justin Trudeau says he's going to for people, when Justin Trudeau says he's going to release a fund for people of African descent in Canada to take a mortgage out, you know, that's changed. When I see Crayola with multiracial markers for skin tones, this is what I'm seeing. When I'm looking at commercials, I'm seeing, you know, interracial couples on screen, I'm experiencing it. But really what I would love to see is for an investment in our youth, or an investment in our young people, so that they come up strong and with good character and with the knowledge and the understanding that they are valuable and everything that they have to share is worthy.
Yep. This has just been such a great conversation, and you know, we could go for so much longer, and hey, maybe we will next time. This might not be, if hopefully not the last time that we all at least be able to chat about this conversation and this topic. I want to thank you all for joining, taking the time, and really sharing your thoughts. It's important, and really, really appreciate it. So I know that there's a clap going on somewhere, and we want to thank you all. So let's just give ourselves a little bit of a shout out here.